Hello quý vị và các bạn thân mến. Hôm nay là ngày thứ Bảy. Các bạn nhìn kỹ nha, November 14. Đây, ông Trey Trainer có một cái cuộc phỏng vấn với đài truyền thông Newsmax. Cái đài này rất là mới mẻ ở Mỹ nhưng mà rất là được nhiều người tin tưởng và ủng hộ, là tại vì đứng trung lập, không có theo phe nào hết các bạn nhé. Đây, cuộc bầu cử năm nay là có gian lận. Bây giờ mình nghe coi ổng nói cái gì các bạn nhé.
Election Commission, which oversees public funding in presidential elections. Trey, thanks so much for joining me here. I'll start with this. What is your reaction to what's happening in Pennsylvania? Do you believe, or do you know, are observers able to watch the ballots being counted as Pam Bondi pushed back on?
Well, based upon what I know, observers have not been allowed into the polling locations in a meaningful way as required by the court order that the Trump campaign received. When they have been allowed in, the goalpost has been moved. They were supposed to be allowed within 6 feet of the ballots, and they have not been allowed that meaningful access. And our whole political system is based upon transparency to avoid the appearance of corruption. And that's what we do at the FEC every day. And now we're seeing this play out in Pennsylvania and other states where there's not transparency in this election.
Trey, as we move forward in modern times, everyone has a cell phone. There's video just about everywhere. You can see just about everything. And the video we just showed earlier appears to show someone filling out the ballot at the table. There's so many videos out there. And again, we have to confirm all this stuff. But do you believe there is voter fraud out there, specifically in Pennsylvania and other states, that are weighing heavily in on this election?
I do believe that there's voter fraud taking place in these places. Otherwise, they would allow the observers to go in. When you have claims of 10,000 people who don't live in the state of Nevada having voted in Nevada, you have the video showing where people are, they're either duplicating a spoiled ballot right there, or they're in the process of just marking a ballot that came in blank for a voter. That's a process that needs to be observed by election observers. State law allows those observers to be in there, and if they're not, then the law is not being followed, making this an illegitimate election.
All right, let's go back to that video if we can. The video we're watching there, if he's filling out the ballot on the top right there, so this would be fraud, Trey.
If he is filling out that ballot, yes. Now, sometimes they go through a process of duplicating a ballot when a ballot can't be fit into a voting machine because it's torn up, and we don't know if that's happening here. But if he's absolutely marking these ballots as just blank ballots that came in that didn't have votes, then that would be a voter fraud.
He seems to be working that pin up and down on that sheet very intently there. And it's not the only video that we've seen. There's so much out there as well, and I'm sure this will be presented at a later date and perhaps for the court system to find out. But what about this? The fact that more than a dozen down-ballot Republicans scored huge victories on election night, but the person at the top of the ticket, President Trump, seeing his margins in places like Georgia, Pennsylvania, continue to shrink by the hour, most notably around 4 a.m. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you look back at 1871, it was Boss Tweed who said, I don't care who votes as long as I get to be the one who counts the votes. And sometimes that's also attributed to Joseph Stalin, but I think he was probably quoting Boss Tweed at the time. In every instance we have here where